That's right, I'm going to keep speedrunning Golden Treasure until you like it. Hi everyone, this is Hybrid here, and I'm back with another Golden Treasure the Great Green Secret Ending speedrun. I have some housekeeping items to get out of the way first. First, my last speedrun video that I posted was in December 2020 with a time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, 10 seconds. Today I am recording in July 2021, and I'm hoping for around 1 hour, 13 minutes. We found a pretty big routing change. I am running version 1.1.3 of this game. This is not the latest version. The latest version has some additional content as well as a bug fix, both of which slow us down. I will be giving commentary with a mix of story and speedrun mechanics. If you've seen my previous speedrun videos, it will probably be quite similar. So let's go ahead and get this started with a new life in 3, 2, 1, go. So in this game, you play as a dragon from inside of its egg all the way to young adulthood. The setting is a science fantasy version of Bronze Age Earth. The genre is a mixture of interactive fiction, RPG, and adventure. Interactive fiction in the sense of most of what I'm doing is clicking on text options down in the bottom portion of the screen. RPG, because you do have stats based on the classical elements as well as turn-based combat based on those stats. And adventure in the sense of collecting items and using them in certain places. So we are inside of our egg right here, being given instruction by our birther creator, or mother, about what it means to be a dragon. Or as they are called in this world, Drakkin, or Drak for short. So if I ever say Drak, that means dragon. Speedrun-wise, one of the things we would like to do as much as possible is pick the topmost options, as they do load in first and are clickable first by a few frames. Of course, sometimes the other options do end up being faster or are necessary in order for stat gains or the like. So we have hatched out of our egg here. Most of this game is illustrated by these wonderful paintings. So we will see the first paintings of the game where our dragon character has hatched. And we find ourselves in this little cave here. You can go towards the water or towards the light. In casual play, you want to go towards the water. You see your reflection, and it's a great little scene, but it is a little bit slower. So we come to this cliff now, and what are we going to do? We are going to jump off the cliff. Whee! Well, that didn't work too well, but it did give us our first tarot card or achievement. In order to complete the secret ending, you need to unlock 20 tarot cards. So that is going to be our main objective throughout the game. We come down to this jerk bird who says, haha, you can't fly. And I say, dude, I'm 5 minutes old. Give me a break. And we sense something strange, and we come over here to find that our dear birther creator, who taught us so much, has been slain by these very strange creatures. Obviously, we need some revenge. We seem to have taken an arrow in the chest, but no problem. Let's just keep fighting, and, well, we're dead. Well, no problem. This is a roguelite game. You have 3 lives, and if you lose your last life, then your save game is deleted. But we have 2 lives to spare, no big deal. So we just get sent back a little bit. Back here to where our dear birther creator has been slain by these very strange creatures. Obviously we need some revenge. We seem to have taken an arrow in the chest, but no problem. Let's just keep fighting, and, well, we're dead again. I must admit this is a little bit concerning. We're just a couple of minutes into the speedrun, and already we have lost 2 of our lives. Does not leave much room for error. I'm sure we can get this, though. So we're back to where our dear birther creator, who has been slain by these very strange creatures. Obviously we need some revenge. We seem to have taken an arrow in the chest, but no problem. Let's just keep fighting, and, well, we're dead again. Obviously I'm doing this on purpose. You do get an achievement for dying, as it turns out. And this place right here is by far the fastest and most convenient place to get that achievement. It's an instant death. It's right here early in the game. You get sent back just a little bit each time, and we'll get to redo our stats in just a moment. Most of your deaths in a casual play will simply be in combat, but those would all take a little while to get to. So we will start a new life from hatching. And we get to assign our stats. We're going to max out Earth and Fire, and put the rest into Water. So it is quite convenient despite the inherent inconvenience of having to die in the first place. There is another achievement to be concerned about, that is going from hatching out of your egg and making it to the ending sequence in one continuous life. And this counts. You can start from right here. You don't have to start from the prologue. We're actually going to select a bad option down here to give us a few water points, and then escape from this chamber. And we find ourselves in this cave. We're going to go towards the light again. And we come to the cliff. We're going to climb down the cliff this time. Jumping off the cliff has a little animation involved, so we want to skip that. Come down to this jerkbird who's like, haha, you climbed down a cliff. And I say, dude, I just cannot win with you, can I? But we get it to divulge a secret that inside the mouth of our Bertha creator is a special treasure called the Crystal Fang. And so instead of fighting, we are going to sneak forward and look closely. And we get the Crystal Fang. I'm going to keep clicking down here while the item is popping up, because that is okay. So it starts to rain. We're a little bummed out. It's our first day of life, and already one of our parents is dead. But you are not much of an RPG protagonist if you are not an orphan, so at least we have that covered. This is a little tutorial here where it tells you a little bit about the user interface and your stats and whatnot. Your stats are based on the 4 classical elements of fire, water, earth, and air. Fire for strength, water for empathy and intuition, earth for durability, and air for quickness of both body and mind. So we go outside and we look at the stars and we sing a song to fire to give us 5 fire points. Whenever I talk about gaining elemental points, that's essentially your stats and levels and whatnot. It asks if we want the combat and exploration tutorial. We say no, because otherwise it takes about 5 minutes, and that would not be very good in a speedrun. And then we go outside the next day to investigate something strange, and we find the Dragon Paragon of Wisdom, Darktooth, who tells us a little bit more about what it means to be a dragon, and he gives us our first major objective of the game, which is to go to the northeast corner of the map, the Spirit Wood, and claim the Spirit Wood as our territory. But after meeting Darktooth, this game opens up. It is an open-world RPG, so we can go out to the map and uncover fog and look at these various icons on the map that represent different side quests and points of interest. Another thing that we need to be concerned about is our energy. There's a sort of chain or double helix down in the bottom portion of the screen that pops up from time to time that represents our energy. Now, normally to replenish energy, you go to hunting grounds and hunt down animals and chase them and fight them, and it's a lot of great fun. But we want to get energy from events, such as this event, where there are some children playing, having a good time, and we ambush one of them and eat them alive and steal its necklace. Because dragon. Just in case it wasn't clear up to this point, you are playing as a dragon in this game, and you are not only able to do things like that, you are expected to. Good times. So we go to this other event where some people are mining clay out of the side of a hill. And through some very cunning maneuvers by setting fire to the hillside, because dragon, and using a cow as a distraction, we steal their special item called the Shake Stick. The Shake Stick is an item that is able to mine precious stone out of ordinary rock, which would be very useful for a dragon, as we are expected to accumulate a great treasure hoard, but we're not going to use it for that. We are going to sell it. In order to sell it, we need it to be identified, so we need some money up front. So we come over to the stream where there's some shiny stones, and we collect some shiny stones. Your currency in this game is shiny things, which are not very useful on their own, but they reflect the cold, hard cash for dragons. Now that we have some shiny things as a payment up front, we're going to go over to Darktooth, because he can identify items for us. So we say certain things to him in a certain order. First we say we have an interesting object, the Shake Stick. So he identifies that. And then we say, would you like to trade? He says, trade? Dude, you're 5 days old. You think you have something to trade with me? And we say, yes, the Shake Stick you just identified. So he gives us 100 shiny things for that. And we can ask him about his normal conversation topics, where he is quite the repository of lore about dragons and the world this takes place in. But more importantly for us, it gives us elemental mastery points for each question. Very easy source of stats. And then one more interesting object, the Crystal Fang, as we are using that later and we need it identified. And then we leave. So for being quite early in the game, we are getting quite powerful considering how little time we spent, and the Crystal Fang is going to boost our stats even further a little bit later. For the moment, we're going to uncover this other bit of fog and unlock this badger icon that pops up. This represents an old badger who is probably not far from death of old age, but he does not want that. He wants to die in glorious battle, and battle with a dragon would definitely suffice. So we're going to go grant his wish over here and accept his request of combat to the death. And I will tell you how the combat works in just a moment, but for now, what we're going to do is use Flowing Strike, and then Fire Flash, and then Flowing Strike. And that beats him really easily, 100% of the time. So what's going on here is that if you've ever seen the movie Dragonheart, you know that valiant souls always go to live in the stars, so that badger is chilling out in the stars now, and he gives us an item called the Bloodstone, as well as its achievement, Strength. As well, he also gives us full badger mastery, and whenever you get full mastery of an item, you get a neat little poem. So that's nice. So how the combat works in this game is it's sort of a simultaneous turn-based. You and your opponent both select an element in secret, and then those elements clash against each other. It has the usual elemental of rock, paper, scissors, of fire beats air, air beats water, water beats fire. Of course, a big strength discrepancy makes this a little bit less important. A squirrel that picks the right element against you is still just a squirrel, after all. But the badger is unique in that it always opens up with the same moves. Most animals typically start in a random spot. So we find this deer outside that has died under mysterious circumstances. We decide to eat the deer because dragon, even though that's a bad idea because it did die of disease. The badger is unique. It always opens up with the same moves. Most animals start in a random spot within their pattern of moves, so you don't quite know what they're going to do. This rat is named Never Ever. He is the envoy of the mighty dragon elder, many times burned. We're going to see him once more in the future. So this is a labyrinth that we have entered down here. There are several side paths and interesting things to see. We just want to make it to the end where there is a boss fight. There are random encounters down here, such as this rat with a grenade. We can defeat it very easily. We do collect the grenade it was holding. It's not too useful to us, but there you have it. We're going to make it to the end in the boss fight. We are trying to collect a special item called the False Face. It is a sort of gas mask. I usually get 2 random encounters down here, like so. Another rat with a grenade. It doesn't really matter what encounters you get. You hope for 1 random encounter, but 2 is pretty normal. So we come to this tunnel with these horrible maim death kill blades, and we find out that they spin very fast if something moves fast, but if you go down really slow, then you're okay. It's asking if you really, really, really want to do this, but we're okay. So we come down here to these fire salamanders who say, hey, a dragon, can you enkindle us? And we say, sure, no problem, I know exactly what enkindling is. And they realize that we really don't know what enkindling is, so they decide to fight us instead. So 1 second here, this is very tricky. Okay. Like most animals, the salamanders have a specific series of moves that they do, but they start in a random spot within that series. So they have a pattern of 6 moves and can start on any one of those 6 different moves. And I am actually able to beat them regardless of what move they open on, but I do have to make the right choices in response. So that worked out pretty well. Here we got sick from the deer. We have caught ill. We have a little bit of a bellyache, but that's okay. We are going to head up to the Spirit Wood now. We have done everything we needed to in part 1. Illness is represented by the jade statue down here, glowing yellow. But we don't have to worry about this illness at all. We used to in the old version of the speedrun. It caused us some trouble and we needed to rest it away. But we meet this dragon called Twist, who would also like to claim the spirit wood for himself. But we challenge it to a riddle contest. The answers to his riddles are fire, water, earth, and air, which are only told to you time and time again, so he is pretty bad at coming up with riddles. So now we commune with the forest and feel that it likes us and accepts us. And then we claim it as our territory. And then we hibernate for 30 years. All pretty normal things. I'm sure we've all done that at least once or twice. So we hibernate for 30 years, and then we wake up, and by the way, we are still ill after 30 years, but we are now an adolescent dragon, and it's our job to go forth and explore the world. First thing we're going to do is go over to Darktooth and ask him about his normal topics for some quick stat gains. And then what he has for us is what he calls the Great Lesson, which is where he teaches us about the history of dragonkind as well as different forms of philosophy. So there's all of his normal topics, and we ask about the Great Lesson. So we come over to this bird, who asks if we are wise and if we know the great truth, and we say, no, we are not very smart. And he says, correct. So the objective in this labyrinth down here is to view the 7 cave paintings that represent the history of dragonkind. They are in a jumbled order, so it doesn't do me too much good to talk about them just yet. We just need to take a look at them. It's a bit of a quiet spot in the speedrun as I am just traversing this cave here. Be a good time for a donation or something. These cave paintings were drawn by Darktooth himself using molten metal. Okay, that is all 7. So we next come to these salamanders who ask us to recite the history of dragonkind in the correct order. So it goes a little something like this. In the beginning, there's Earth and Sun, and they created dragons. And dragons ruled over everything. And then space aliens came and started destroying everything. And dragons fought the space aliens. And space aliens won. And space aliens put down humanoids of different sizes, and then humans took over everything, and that's where we are today. Did you get all that? Because I'm not repeating it. Okay, next we are going to the 4 schools of philosophy that are run by these different fish. The first one is the School of Number, where they are very obsessed with math problems, so they're going to ask me to math during a speedrun, so one moment here. Okay, that was actually one of the easier sets that I've seen in a while, so that was pretty nice. I like that. The next school of philosophy we're coming to is the School of Wealth, where this octopus believes that sand is the solution to all of life's problems. So we ask for his blessing, and he says, sure, no problem, just bring me a bunch of sand. I'll be happy to give you my blessing. And we don't really want to cart around a bunch of sand, so we just say, how about this? Give me your blessing or I'll kill you. And he says, okay, you can have my blessing. So that is that problem solved? You sometimes get random encounters down here, but in appropriate style, they are math encounters. You can actually give any answer. It does not matter. The next school here is the School of Nihilism, where this fish believes that he is a video game character and that nothing he does matters, which is not too far from the truth. So we ask for his blessing, and we actually need to not answer his questions. And that is the School of Nihilism. Now you may notice that our energy is very low. We have not eaten in quite some time, 30 years in fact, but that's no problem. At the next school here, the School of Faith, they give us food for free, if we just ask for it. So we're going to ask the second thing twice. And then we're actually going to ask for food 3 times. This manipulates our reputation, because our reputation reduces a little bit every time we ask for food. And we actually want our reputation to be a little bit low. And then we ask for his blessing, and just answer his questions. The answers are the second, first, faith. And that is the School of Faith. Okay, and then next we come to this manta ray, who wants to know if we would like to follow any one of these philosophies for the rest of our life. And of course we don't want to do that, and we have to give a justification for it. We're actually going to give the top justification twice, and then the second justification twice, as this gives us the stats that we need. We are razor thin on the stats, on meeting certain stat milestones. And we come back to Darktooth, who is looking very relaxed. He is very happy that we completed the great lesson. And so he gives us the Silver Rod, which is completely useless to us, as well as this achievement, the Hierophant. Hierophant is actually the name of the next game being planned by Dreaming Door Studios. They really, really like that word. And that is okay. So now we're going to go ahead and use the Crystal Fang. The Crystal Fang is a memory crystal that holds some ancestral memories. So by using it, we get a boost of 8 points to every stat, which is pretty massive. We're also going to rest one day to finally get rid of this illness, because it is reducing our stats by 50%, which is important because these bats have invaded our cave, and we need plenty of stats in order to talk with them and then offer to share the cave. If we were still ill, we might not be able to meet the stat check to talk with them successfully. So now we can start exploring the map. The first thing we are going to do is go down to meet one of our dragon neighbors called Tempest, and challenge Tempest to a riddle contest for treasure. Some of the things in this part are not necessarily done in any specific order, so there's a little bit of leeway to it. You need to talk to Tempest early because you need some shiny things to wager as a loss condition. So Tempest comes down here and says hi, and we challenge Tempest, and the answer to his riddle is gone. And he says, "What? How could you get that right? That riddle is impossible." But for getting it correct, we get the Bezoar Stone. Going to uncover a little more fog now. This is again a little bit of a quiet spot as I'm just uncovering some fog. Be another good time for donations or whatever. This music on the map actually runs for like 3 or 4 minutes at least, but you only ever hear the first 15 seconds of it. Even when you're playing casually, there's not a whole lot of reason to just stay on the map for a long time. It is the same music that's used in the gallery though, so if you ever go browsing in the gallery, then at least you would hear it there. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we're going to go meet the spirit of the green, the sort of spirit, nature spirit that watches over this forest. And it has laid out a few tests for us based on our elemental masteries. So first we need to follow the white rabbit, as you do. And then there is an animal over here that we would like to eat, but we need to have the mental fortitude to ignore it and proceed onward. And then there is a stone here that we need to throw aside with our great strength. And then there is a jackalope who asks a riddle. It is not a riddle that I select or type in. It is simply an air stat check. So we have passed all of the tests, and we meet the spirit of the Great Green. It says hi. We are best friends now. And it gives us a bunch of stats, as well as an achievement. The High Priestess, if I am not incorrect. Okay, that is important to do because next we are going to experience what dragons call a true dream, or a premonition of the future. It is a symbolic dream of a fiery dragon fighting a deer in the sky. This represents a forest fire that will happen in the future unless we take steps to prevent it. And in order to solve this quest, we need to go down here to where a saber-toothed tiger spirit has possessed this guy, and he is down here. He is causing trouble, he is killing deer, he is killing other things, he is just sort of angry in general and does not know how to deal with his feelings. So we talk with it for a little while, and then we go commune with the spirit of the green and perform what is essentially a dragon exorcism. And then we breathe some fire on the guy because dragon. And then we eat the guy because dragon. And that is the problem solved. Well, the deer come back, but they don't know if they like me or not. It turns out that only deer can prevent forest fires. So we have to say the correct things to them, or else they do get offended and leave forever. And you are denied the necessary achievement here, the Empress. And this also solves the forest fire quest. I am going to use this ability called Consume Self that restores some energy at the cost of doing 50% damage to myself. I'm going to be using that many times in the future. It is an ability that is unlocked when you reach 60 fire points, so it is a major part of speedrunning to ensure that we get 60 points of fire, and it's why I've taken the opportunity to get stat canes at various points, even if we have to waste a little bit of time for it. This rat steals our shiny things. What it wants us to do is hunt some snakes. We agree to hunt some snakes. We're not going to hunt any snakes. That takes way too long. So we come over here to this wolf den. We need to make friends with the wolves. So here's this wolf den where our guardian is standing in front, and we challenge it to honorable combat. And we use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. So it runs away, and we let it go, and we find these wolf pups inside, and we are going to talk with them and then leave. And by brutalizing that wolf out in front and scaring these wolf pups half to death and then leaving, we are helping to make friends with the wolves. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go with that. The next thing we're going to do to help make friends with the wolves is go talk to these wolves who are having a feast. And we don't really want to bother them, so we just say bye. And they say, why are you leaving? And I say, I'm leaving out of honor. And they say, we accept that you are leaving out of honor. This is helping to make friends with the wolves. The next thing we need to do is make friends with these space elves. So there's some space elves over here having a good time. They're just chilling out. So we approach them and let them touch me. I assume in a sort of how to train your dragon sense, with like Hiccup slowly reaching out his hand and Toothless slowly moving his snout into Hiccup's outstretched hand. That's how I imagine it. We are going to go to the other Space Elf event over here, where there are some Space Elves posing as trees. We are going to examine the trees and then breathe some fire on them, because dragon. And there's a logic test inside. We're actually going to fail this. And then redo it. So we breathe fire on the trees, and then the answers are left, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, middle. And by failing that logic test the first time and getting it right on the second time actually saves us 12 seconds overall. So we are approached by this space elf dragon who wants to do a certain something with me that I do not think I can talk about. But we say, I need to know what you really are. And it turns out it's a hologram for space aliens. You have space aliens in my dragon game, thank you. We say, okay, look, you can do what you want, but I need information about animals. So it gives us 50% knowledge of every animal, which is what is represented by all these icons flying over to the left side of the screen. We need 50% knowledge of wolves in order to make friends with wolves. And we also need this achievement anyway, the lovers. And I like how the icons just keep flying over no matter what you're doing. You can come back to the map, you can come back to your lair. They don't care, man. We'll go ahead and consume self again just to make sure we are staying well fed. Okay, we are going to do the last wolf event over here, where a lone wolf is striking out on its own, and we say, that's nice, goodbye. And that is the lone wolf event. So the wolves come by and they say, it's really weird what you're doing. You keep coming close and leaving and we don't understand. And I say, I just love wolves. Let's be friends. And they say, okay, we can be friends, but we have to fight first. So we're making friends with wolves by fighting with them. And we use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. And now dragons and wolves are friends. And it gives us two things. An item called the Spirit Claw Clan, as well as this achievement, the moon. The wolves are going to come in handy very much a little bit later. Okay, that is all the mandatory stuff we need to do in part 2. The other thing that is remaining is our Drac rivals who want to conquer our land, such as this dragon right here, named Flare. He is an angry bullet type, but we just burned down a tree because dragon. And Flare is having none of that. He runs for the hills. My tree burning power is much more powerful than his. And that's Flare. The next Drac rival coming up is named Bloom. Bloom arrives with a bunch of animal friends. And in a casual play, Bloom is the slayer of newbies. He is very strong. If you don't have one of the alternative options to deal with him, your option of last resort is to fight 2 animals plus Bloom in a very, very difficult endurance battle that, if you are not expecting it, will probably just kill you. But it turns out we have the best option for dealing with him, which is to call in our wolf friends and challenge Bloom to a contest of song. And as wolves are often regarded as great singers, but Bloom's entourage of animals is just a bunch of barnyard rejects, really, we win that contest very easily. There's a lot of other fun stuff to do in part 2, but we're doing a speedrun, so we don't really get to see it. But this game is definitely great on a casual play. So here's Bloom and its animal friends. He also has a chicken on his head. So we call in our wolves and challenge Bloom to a contest of song, and Bloom just dies of embarrassment right then and there. He just drops dead of shame. It's pretty amazing. And that's Bloom. Our third Drac rival is named Whisper. He is kind of a sneaky, stealthy type who lurks in the shadows. But it turns out one of the best options for dealing with Whisper is to simply call in our bat friends, who can use their echolocation to find him, and they are not stopped by somebody who is lurking in the dark. Whisper actually has several ways to deal with him that are all pretty good. If you don't have any of them, then he pretty much kills you before you even get anywhere. But most players should be able to deal with him, especially if they've been able to survive Bloom. Flare is not really that difficult in any case. So here is Whisper. Are we calling our bat friends? And get a sneak attack. And the sneak attack instantly drives Whisper away. And that is Whisper. Alright, so that is all that is necessary for part 2. We are just going to continue resting until we reach part 3. While we have just a moment here, I just want to say that I really love this game. I have written several guides. I've kept up the TV tropes page for it. I've played through it multiple times, even casually. I've done tons of research. A lot of time has gone to the speedrun. It's probably one of my most favorite games ever. There are other games that I played more. I like multiplayer games as well, but as far as my personal favorite, this is it. And that's why I speedrun it, and I love it, and I cannot say enough good things about it. So what's happening here is that winter is coming, and the bats are going to leave. The wolves are going to stick around, but they're a little bit sad that we are going to hibernate for another 30 years. And Darktooth comes to us in a dream, and he's still very happy that we completed his great lesson. And the Spirit of the Green comes to us in a dream and is still very happy that we completed its tests and became friends. And it gives us another achievement, Temperance. Even though this is for preventing the forest fire, even though we already got that for bringing the deer back. We already got an achievement for bringing the deer back. It's 2 achievements for doing essentially the same thing. And then we wake up and we are a big, beautiful dragon. Best scene of the game. We must embrace the wind. But thou must. You have no choice. You must embrace the wind. So we go for our first flight and everything is awesome. And then Darktooth is a complete killjoy. He comes by and says, hey, while you were hibernating, these human things have become a little bit more of a problem. So all of Dragonkind is meeting in 20 days. Prepare yourself, then attend. And we say, okay, time to sleep for 20 days. There is nothing mandatory we need to do in part 3. Ordinarily, you need to prepare yourself for one of the 3 main endings. Well, it turns out we've already qualified for the Wisdom ending, where we follow Darktooth. By completing the Great Lesson, we have gained a very large amount of favor with Darktooth, and that gives us free passage into the Wisdom ending. So the basic problem that Dragonkind is facing is that in the distant past, Dragonkind already got massacred by aliens, and now our numbers are just recovering enough, and all of a sudden we have this new problem that humans are also becoming more technologically capable. It's the Bronze Age. They're developing weapons made out of bronze. There's a lot of them now. They're becoming more numerous, and this is becoming very troublesome for dragons. Whenever humans and dragons clash, it's always a band of humans versus a single dragon, because dragons always live alone. And it's often the dragon getting the worst end of the deal in those exchanges, and this is completely unsustainable as more and more dragons are dying. So all of Dragonkind is holding a grand moot to decide collectively what to do about this issue. And there are three main elders who speak at the moot. There is Darktooth, who represents wisdom, Many Times Burned, who represents survival, and Allmother, who represents compassion. We'll be talking about Many Times Burned and Allmother a little bit later as we do their endings, but Darktooth's solution is simply this. He's determined that there's really nothing to be done, because he's seen the future as we know it here in 2021, or 2019 when this game was made, and he's determined that humans take over everything and dragons are no longer anywhere to be seen. And he accepts this completely. He says this future cannot be changed. There is nothing we can do about it. But there is one thing we can do. We can leave. I can build a spaceship, and I know another habitable planet out there in the stars, and we can just pack up, take the best and brightest of Dragonkind, and just leave. And that's my plan. So, although there may no longer be any dragons on Earth in the future, we can continue living and surviving and existing elsewhere. There are several of these events, such as this Mayfly, who asks what is the meaning of life. We tell it wisdom right here. In the future, we're going to eat the Mayfly because it is a little bit faster. There are other events where the humans are encroaching on my land and chopping down my trees and stealing wild game and whatnot. We just ignore all of it. If you start trying to stop them, not only is that slow, but they then start retaliating against you, and it's not good for a speedrun to get into all that. Now, as far as Darktooth's ending, there are several ways to get into his ending. We have, as I mentioned, done the Great Lesson, which gives us high favor with him, so with high favor you pretty much get in for free. If you don't have high favor, you may instead offer him many shiny things. You may offer him the elixir, which is another item that we will actually be getting a little bit later. You may offer him the Awakened Silver Rod, which is sort of a backdoor into it. And then ordinarily, Many Times Burned wants you to stay on Earth. He says, no, you can't leave. You gotta stay. But if you have low favor with Many Times Burned, then he pretty much just says, good, get out of here. I don't care. So Wisdom, yes, and Darktooth is so happy to have us along on the journey. And Many Times Burned is just like, good, get out of here. I hate you. And so we build a spaceship, and now we are on this other planet, and hopefully things will be a little bit better here. And that is the Wisdom ending. Okay, the next ending we will be going for is the Compassion ending. Now, we are able to restart at Part 3, so we never have to do the prologue or Part 1 or Part 2 again. We start directly at Part 3. And what we need is 50 fire. 1 second here. It's 50 fire and as much as we can into water. And we need the Crystal Fang, and nothing else. You can inherit any items that you've gotten in any previous life. 50 fire, because 50 fire plus the 10 from the Crystal Fang will give us the ability to consume self. And water, because we need 100 water by the end of this, in order to complete the Compassion ending. So, first thing is consume self. Oh, Crystal Fang first. That is fine. Using the Crystal Fang in Part 3 gives us 10 to each stat, whereas it gave us 8 in Part 2. Okay, now we're going to consume self and go out to the map. Here, All-Mother invites us to her trial, which we are going to do. So we consume self and go out to the map, and we are going to meet with All-Mother's envoy, whose name is Writhing Question, and he is quite the silver fox. And All-Mother would like for us to live life as an ant. Now, up to this point, we have been living life as a dragon. We are giant and solitary and rule over land, and eat anything we want and do anything we want, and ants are pretty much the complete opposite. So we're going to move up, and we meet the queen. And we need to select the option to move eggs to safety, otherwise the sequence does not end. And we move up. And what we need to do is we need to gather food, water, and aphids for the hive. So this is another sort of maze. There are a lot of side paths, mostly weird things or things that will just instantly kill you. But if you know where you're going, it's all pretty straightforward. So we are taking the water path first. And over here, we encounter what the ants call a death pit. We would know it as an ant lion, so we throw one of our own legs into the death pit to identify it as such, and then we fight it with a few friends. So now we are ants fighting an ant lion. This is all perfectly normal, by the way. And we just use Power Strike, because Power Strike is overpowered. And beat that ant lion, no problem. And we find the water. And we drink some water. And then go back to the hive. Now, if you do the water or the aphids, then you do get teleported immediately back to the hive. If you do the food path in the middle, for some reason that does not teleport you. So you definitely want to leave that to last, even in a casual play. There are random encounters here. The caterpillar is not what you want to see, but that is okay. For once, using Flowing Strike is the correct answer. The caterpillar does slow you down by a couple of seconds, but it's not really a huge deal. So we come over here and we find the aphids that are being attacked by a ladybug. So we fight the ladybug, and we use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. Beat that evil, evil ladybug. So the aphids are safe, and we bring them back to the hive. And Writhing Question continues to tell us a little story about All-Mother. Basically, All-Mother met this rabbit and this fox, and the fox wanted to eat the rabbit, and All-Mother said, I don't like it when carnivores eat things, that makes me sad. So how about this, you can eat a little bit of me instead, and the rabbit will keep living, and you won't starve to death, and everyone can stay alive and be happy. That's pretty close to how the story goes. There's another random encounter. Just a little bug, no big deal. Unfortunately, I've been pretty unlucky with random encounters here, so that is a little bit slow, but there's not really any help for it. It is random after all. So we come over here to this dead jerkbird and this mantis that is making a sharp sword-on-sword, metal-on-metal sound, which I think is absolutely amazing. And we gather a lot of friends to fight this evil, evil mantis. And we use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. So now we have claimed the food. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a giant squirrel starts attacking us. So now we are an ant fighting a giant squirrel. And we just use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. Now, this is a sort of reverse hopeless boss battle that you sometimes see in RPGs. Sometimes, you know, in RPGs, there's a boss fight that you can't win against, that you're meant to lose. Well, in this fight, the squirrel cannot win, because no matter how many times we die, we just always instantly revive on the spot. So we easily beat that evil, evil squirrel. And then we meet All-Mother, who tells us a little bit more about her philosophy. Basically, she sees all life as being equal, whether dragon, or human, or ant, or fox, or rabbit, or whatever else. It is all equal to her. So she encourages compassion, whereas this is ordinarily a foreign notion to dragons who live alone and only care for themselves. So, All Mother's ending is following compassion, and what she says is she says, well, I'm a pacifist, so I don't believe in fighting and killing anything. And also, I don't want to do what Darktooth says and abandon Earth. I love Earth. I love this place. I want to see Earth survive above all else. That is the most important thing to me. So she says, look, there's not really anything else I can do, so this is the only thing that I can possibly do to follow the path of compassion. Let's sacrifice ourselves and place our souls among humanity, which we know are going to become dominant in the future, and guide them from within to peace and prosperity and harmony with Earth. That the time of dragons is simply over, and more than that, what does it matter what we look like? We are dragons in soul, so as dragons in some form, we will continue existing and will help protect Earth. We just won't look the same anymore. We won't look like dragons. And many times Byrne just thinks that's outright insane. He sees it as surrender. Darktooth is not completely against it, but he says that this has been tried before in the past. It's been experimented with, and pretty much nobody is even able to do this. That maybe Allmother, as one of the oldest dragons in existence, might be able to pull this off. But she's encouraging all other dragons to do this, and the chance of it working for most of them is pretty much nothing. That most of them will probably end up dying for nothing, that they're not going to be able to place their souls among humanity. But Allmother just says, look, I have faith that this will work. I have hope and faith, and this is what I have to do because nothing else can be reconciled with my feelings on pacifism and compassion. So whoever wants to follow me definitely can, but I don't really care what you guys think. So in order to complete Allmother's compassion ending, there are a few requirements. The first thing is that you need to have a medium to high favor with her. Otherwise, she just says, no, I can't let you follow me. By completing her trial, we do get high favor with her. We also need either 100 water points, or we need sufficient human knowledge. I believe it is 20 points of human knowledge. Or a lot of compassion points. Compassion points you would need to pretty much play through part 2 and do all the compassion actions and then all the compassion actions in part 3. It's pretty rough. Human knowledge, there is an infinite source of it, but it would take a few minutes. So we are taking the 100 water point route, which is not too hard to get. So we say compassion, and we say yes. And many times Burned is absolutely outraged by that. He orders us executed on the spot, so we die. But our soul is okay. So we do this water check. And now we are reborn as humans in the modern world. The end. Okay, something important about this tarot card here is that one of the effects is that it says it slows energy loss by the passage of time. And it has the unintended side effect of making you immune to starvation. So not only are we not reliant on hunting grounds, and not only are we not reliant on events, we are no longer even reliant on consumed self. We just cannot starve. So we are restarting once more and doing the survival path of Many Times Burned. And for that we need plenty of water, fire and earth. Fire and earth is what we're getting here. Fire for strength, and earth for durability, which is what helps us do well in combat. Water and air do help a little bit in combat. Some of their moves are pretty good. So we need these two things, and that's all. The Bloodstone and the Crystal Fang. So, Many Times Burned's trial is a series of combats against some different opponents. That's why we need lots of fire and earth. We're just going to consume self and use the Crystal Fang first of all. This will increase our fire and earth by another 10 points. Here is Many Times Burned inviting us to his trial. We'll go ahead and rest for one more day just to make sure we are topped off on health. We're going to be resting all the rest of the days anyway, so it doesn't really matter when you do it. And then we're going to go into our cave here and use the Bloodstone. The Bloodstone has two effects. First, it increases your fire points by, I believe, like 50 for one day. And it also gives you a flat bonus to the amount of damage you do with any given move. So we are pretty much as strong as we can possibly be. And our earth is quite high, so we are quite durable as well. So we go to this volcano where Many Times Burned is chilling out down there. And our first opponent is this snake who would like to become a dragon. I don't think he's going to achieve his goal because actually half his combat moves are bugged. So he always goes down to one power strike. Now, up to this point, we've been eating lots of things because dragon. Well, if you've ever played the game Choice of the Dragon, you may remember that one of your stats is disdain, which means like not caring about things. So we pass that snake by because dragon. And our next opponent is this pair of jerkbirds, and we beat them up and pass them by because dragon. And our next opponent is this bear called Agony. I don't really know why he's here. It's still kind of confusing to me. And we use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. And then we pass him by because dragon. And our next opponent is this Neanderthal guy called Last. He is called Last because all of the other Neanderthals were killed by the humans. So he would like Many Times Burned to repopulate his people. And we beat him up. And pass him by because dragon. And our next opponent is not Many Times Burned, but rather it is this envoy, Never Ever. And Never Ever messes with your combat interface here for some reason. I don't know why this is. It's never explained. So we beat him up and pass him by because dragon. And MTB says stop. And he talks about what he's seen in the future in 2019 when this game was made. Where everything is kind of covered with concrete and polluted and there's no more dragons. And he's pretty sad about all that. So, if you haven't guessed by this point, Many Times Burned plan is to just kill all humans now before they become any more of a problem than they already have been. So MTB says, look, up to this point, battles between dragons and humans have been very one-off. That it's always one dragon against a band of humans, and that always ends poorly for the dragon. So here's what I propose. Let's band together as one single unstoppable force and just declare total war on humankind. Non-stop, kill every single one that we see, and make it just our life's mission to wipe the earth clean of humanity. And I believe, I have hope, that this will change this future that we've all seen. So, it kind of seems like MTB is supporting a sort of genocide or xenocide, as the case may be, that he's kind of evil, that he's just like, grr, arg, let's kill everything. Murder is the best solution. But really, he's more about no fate but what we make, right? That he's saying, you guys have decided that we have no chance, that dragonkind is going to be extinct no matter what we do. I don't believe that. I believe that we do have a chance to change things, but only if we take extreme measures. It occurs to me, by the way, I've used Consume Self a couple of times. Sorry, I've been a little bit absent-minded. We don't need to do that anymore because of the Star Tarot card. We never needed to do that in the first place. I thought there was something a little bit wrong with that, but I was just going along with it. It has been a little while since I've speedrun this. So I'm afraid that cost a couple of seconds, but it's not really a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. There was one comic that I commissioned, if I can remember the exact words. Let's see here. MTB says our only choice is to declare total war on the No-Tails and destroy them. And All Mother says, no, we must show compassion for all life, even at the risk of our own. And Darktooth says, I just want to get away from these two lunatics. So that's the way I see it. All three of the elders kind of have a point, and all three of the elders kind of think that the others are a little bit crazy. And that is okay. So the thing you do for MTB's plan to carry out his ending is pretty straightforward. You can always get into it. There's no base requirement. But you do need to deal with some mandatory combats unless you meet one of the other criteria to skip those combats. And one of the ways that you can skip the combat is to have level 10 fire, which we do in fact have. There are a couple of other items that you can get to also skip the combat. Otherwise, you just need to handle it in sort of hand-to-hand, normal battles. So we pick this option and instantly destroy this village here. And I like that this village is apparently the difference between dragonkind surviving and humankind surviving and the other side becoming extinct. So by destroying this one village, everything's going to be okay. And the dragonkind is going to survive. And that is the survival ending. Okay, that is all three main endings dealt with, so we are just going to wrap up the final achievements and get the secret ending. So we are going to restart one more time. And there is a little trick to our stat assignment. We need all of the stats. So we start on Earth and go around clockwise. It's a good idea to alternate between elements because every time you hit a milestone of 10, there is a little pause where you can no longer add points to that element for a second or two. And when we almost run out of points here, it is -1 fire, +1 water, and rest into air. Like that. And we need this, not that, sorry. This. Okay, we're good. I admit I am making a couple of mistakes here and there. You know, just losing a second or so here and there. If I got into a marathon, I'd of course practice this quite a bit harder. It simply has been a little while since I've speedrun this. I think I'm doing remarkably well, considering how out of practice I am. First thing we're going to do is use the Crystal Fang. Just get those stat boosts out of the way, because we do need them sooner or later. Again, we don't need to consume self anymore. We're going to run out of energy, but it doesn't matter. We cannot starve to death in this version. In the latest version, you can, even if you have the Star Tarot card. The Elders invite us to their trials again. We are not going to go to their trials again. So first thing is going up to this building where there are some doggos standing guard, and we are going to pass them by because dragon. That may not seem like it did very much, but it actually unlocked some additional places to visit. We are trying to procure a bit of human knowledge, because you require a certain amount of human knowledge to enter another required location that has a achievement locked behind it. So there are these sheep over here, and we need to answer no to their question, otherwise this run is over. I have lost a run to this before. And then we ask the third question, because it will give us the requisite human knowledge. And that is the sheep event. The next event we go to is a burial scene. This one, right. So we watch this burial scene, and we say, oh, that's nice, goodbye. We pass them by because dragon. Now, of course, in a lot of these, you can bust in and start killing things and stealing treasure and all that, but we don't need to do that for a speedrun. It's a bit slow. The next thing we do is come down here to Tempest territory. We're going to challenge Tempest for some of his land. And we make our challenge publicly, and all of a sudden Tempest tackles us in midair. So we have a little tussle in midair here. And we use Power Strike to knock him away because Power Strike is overpowered. And we land in the water. And continue fighting Tempest down here. And Tempest always opens with 2 air moves, so we just use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. And then we sing a song of pure desire for the land. And Tempest realizes that we really, 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 really want this land. And he says, fine, you can have it if you want it that badly. And more importantly, we get this tarot card, the Emperor. We are going to go and claim some territory from our other dragon neighbor named Vantage. Vantage is a red dragon. We have not met him before. He is hiding underground. He's supposed to come out and like meet us publicly out in the open, but he's hiding. He's shy. So we make our challenge publicly, and we find this jerkbird who's like, Vantage is hiding underground. You need to go down there. We say, fine, whatever. So it's very dark down here, we can't really see anything. We find the skeleton of a dragon, and we run away! And somehow that makes us go forward. Go figure. And we meet what are apparently some dwarves, and they offer us a treasure if we promise to kill Vantage. They give us the spheroid. This is a bad idea because it will explode, but it is slightly faster to take it. And we find this maze where we select the red options because Vantage is a red dragon if you were paying attention. And we find these dead animals that are definitely not deceased, and we pass them by because dragon. So Vantage says, haha, that thing, it explodes. We say, haha, what a surprise. So we fight Vantage here. Vantage always opens up with the same moves, so we just use Power Strike because Power Strike is overpowered. And easily beat Vantage. And Vantage is a little sad that he set these traps for us and they didn't really work. So he wants to know if it was right for dragons to use traps, even though dragons are always supposed to fight head-on. And you can say whether he was right or not, and why. It's a nice little choose-your-own-adventure moment. I think it's pretty well done. And we get this achievement, the Hanged One. Now, by claiming this land, we unlock new hunting grounds, which is not very important to us. But we also unlock a couple of other places. There is a Dwarven trading post over here. So we're going to go trade with the dwarves. Now we do have the shake stick and the false face. Those are Dwarven items, and the dwarves are very happy to see those back. They will pay a very high price for it. So I believe that gave us, what, 400 shiny things or so? Pretty good. We are pretty rich at this point. The other place that we unlocked when we conquered some of Tempest Land was a hut owned by a man called the Artist. He is sort of an inventor and thinker and whatnot, but he is not in right now. There's only this cat and this bird. So we say, I am looking for an artist. If he is not in right now, I will be back later. So we go back to the next day, and we offer the artist the Amber Circle, and he says, I remember you. It was a really long time ago, and you were so young and I was so young, and now you are beautiful and I'm all old. So it's the implication that this is the child that we ate alive and stole his necklace earlier. But he says, I'm working on a special treasure that I want to benefit all creatures on Earth. He is making the elixir. And he is here anyway, even if you ate that child alive earlier. You know, video game logic. But he says, I'm missing 3 stones that I need to complete my work. And these stones are sort of spread throughout the game. We did get one of them. We got the Bezoar from Tempest back in part 2. We were not able to get the other 2 stones, but he does, in fact, accept 150 shiny things as a replacement for each missing stone. And because we got a whole bunch of shiny things from the dwarves, we can give him the Bezoar as well as the 300 shiny things that he needs. So we gave him the 3 things that he needs, and we come back the next day, and he says, I'm almost done, but I tell you what, I would like to be friends with a dragon. Will you be friends with me? And we say yes. It's just a nice thing to do. Humans and dragons really should be friends. Also, more importantly, it gives us more human knowledge for saying yes, and we do need that in order to get into the location that's coming up. If we said no, then we would not have enough human knowledge to get in. We'd have to find it elsewhere, and that would be slow. So we come back the next day, and we find that, unfortunately, the artist has been murdered. Very sad. But he was able to complete the elixir in time. And we need to stay and honor the artist with a Drac-style funeral. By doing so, we get this achievement, the Magician. We also got the elixir. So our stats are very high at this point, but they are not quite 100. We do need 100 of each stat in order to unlock the secret ending. So the elixir is going to put us over the top. So, done deal. We also have 19 out of 20 achievements, so we are just going to pick up the last one here. We are almost done. Almost done to the secret ending. So we come over to this hut here and pick the second option to sneak in, and the second option to sneak in. And we find this place here with a bunch of carvings and torches and stuff, and we say, ah, that's nice. We pass it by because dragon. And we find, ah, there's a dragon head mounted on the wall. This is Warden. He was one of our neighbors in part 2. He was unfortunately slain between parts 2 and 3. So, now that we have 100 in each stat and all 20 achievements, the Dreaming Door now appears to us. And this is the sort of convert to Buddhism and achieve Nirvana ending, which you might think is kind of weird. It's like, up to this point, we've been a dragon who eats whatever we want and do what we want, and we're awesome and special and whatnot. Well, that's right. This is sort of the complete opposite. There's a lot of foreshadowing spread throughout the game that there's a little bit more to the world and a little bit more to the universe than what you are originally told right at the very start. Where at the start you were told that you were special, that you were the sacred beast who was destined for greatness. And we're giving up all that. And that's intended. Another thing that you need here are the 3 sacred numbers that are also spread throughout the game. I already know them. You don't need to find them once you kind of know them already. But they are hidden in various corners of the game. So this is altogether like pretty tough to reach. You could, even if you're hunting for it, it still takes around like 10 hours at least, I would say. It took me about 10 hours to find this ending without any help. There are a lot of clues around, but we're still getting to it awfully fast. So we are approached by these 3 spirits who want us to not go through the door, but we just say no to each one of them, and by continuing to mash down here, they sort of overlap each other. They're supposed to kind of cinematically appear and disappear. And then we are approached by Ego, who would much rather be an individual than achieving Nirvana. And I say, I don't want to be an individual anymore. I want to achieve Nirvana and become one with the universe. He's like, okay, whatever. You go do that. You do you. So we get another egg cracking animation to symbolize our hatching to another layer of reality, and time is coming up pretty quick here. Time. And Nirvana has been achieved as we have become one with the world and one with the universe. So that is Golden Treasure, the Great Green Secret Ending Speedrun. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you select me for Questing for Glory, Hope, and Healing, as that is what I am making this video for specifically. I just want to say one more time, I love this game an enormous amount. I've written several Steam guides. I do these speedruns. I'm the only speedrunner. It's an indie game. It's not well known. And I think the developers deserve all the publicity they can get. It is well deserved. I will leave it at that. I'm going to let the credits run, as is traditional for me, but that is all from me. I will just let it stand as it is, and see you next time.